Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar. We are delighted to have you with us to explore smarter, faster, and connected AI driven smart networks, and specifically for manufacturing and logistics. We are in an era where technology and business challenges are evolving faster than ever. And the conversations like these that we are going to have today are there to provide a platform to exchange ideas, gain insights, and walk away with actionable strategies. Today, if we talk about India, we are standing among the world's top five strongest economies across the globe, a position driven by nations sweeping digital transformation. The resilience, its traditional sector, the rapid rise of the emerging sunrise industries. This momentum is definitely visible across every stat that we are observing nowadays. If we look at last month only, July 2025, the UPI recorded over 1,947 crore transactions, and it was amounting a worth of INR 25 lakh crores. While India now sees a lot of exponential growth, and if I specifically pull out the e-commerce section, we as an Indians order 10 to 12 million on a daily basis. This is the exponential growth. The main question which arises over here is that with this scale, definitely comes a lot of pressure. The supply chain now spans across continents. The customers are expecting same day delivery. Downtime is measured in minutes, can definitely translate into millions of losses if it still exists. So, against all this backdrop, there is one critical question which becomes unavoidable for enterprises, and that is that can networks still afford to be static? And the answer is not anymore. Enterprises now demand agility to respond fast, be adaptable to handle all this disruption which is going around and across the enterprises, and along with it, we need to align to business goals. Without these downtime, which is definitely inevitable and it's definitely costly also. So when we use the phrase smarter, faster, and connected, it just not remain to be a catchy phrase. It becomes the defining agenda for enterprises in today's era. And while all this is happening, I will urge that let's just step back and look at the macro factors that are reshaping enterprises and industries. The very first being the global manufacturing pressure. Now, supply chain are being reimagined through nearshoring via, say, sustainability mandates and rising demand volatility. Enterprises must be able to pivot with production and logistics in near real time. And along with it comes all this logistic complexity. There's cross-border regulations, there are ongoing geopolitical tensions, there are fluctuating fuel costs, and apart from this, there's also customer expectation for transparency, which requires very precise and predictive planning. And above all this is the kind of data explosion that we are facing. With the increasing count of IoT devices, sensors, cameras, and autonomous equipments, these all are flooding the network with massive amount of data, which is real-time data. And here also lies the opportunity. Networks no longer remain merely connectivity enablers. They have become business accelerators. And the difference between a resilient enterprise and a disruptive one often comes down to how smart and responsive the network is. And when we are discussing all this, word to you as IT decision makers. What does it hold for you? So these are four imperatives that I've listed for you. Starting from reframe network as strategic assets, because networks no longer are cost centers. They are business value drivers that directly impact agility, customer trust, and revenue growth. And apart from that, there is the angle of AI, which has become a key thing in the native infrastructure. So don't just retrofit AI into your old systems. Build a network that are intelligent by design, capable of self learning, and ready for automation. But along with this, there are certain level of security, trust, and regulations. India has its own DPDP Act, and along with it, there are various other global data sovereignty laws. Compliance no longer is now optional for enterprises. So this trust and security must be built into the fabric of your networks. And last but not the least is the ecosystem collaboration. There is no single enterprises can do this alone, because for all these technical aspects to handle your network, there are service providers to help you in this. So success will depend on the ecosystem working with these technology partners, your cloud providers, and even your AI innovators. So, in short, the winners will be enterprises who will align network intelligence with business agility. So, in the coming decade, competitive advantage of enterprises will no longer come only from the products that you manufacture or you route to optimize. It will come from the intelligence of the network that connects them. So, smarter, faster, connected. This is just not a future aspiration. It's a new baseline for enterprises that want to thrive in a volatile, hyper connected world, and agility, adaptability, and alignment are the tomorrow's differentiation. And with all this, I think it's time to move ahead with the webinar. And we have a very special subject matter expert with us today, who is none another than Chetan Mistry. He'll be sharing about his perspectives, his considerations, and everything. But before we move ahead, there are two sets of poll questions that would be appearing right in front of you on your screens. It will help us understand your perspective and consideration when you are thinking of network for your own enterprises. And I insist if you could quickly give your responses for these two questions, that would be really great for us. And I think by this time, I formally invite, and it's a pleasure to invite you, Chetan, who is actually the solutions head for India and APAC at Ruckus Networks. He will take us deeper into the nuances of building this smart, fast, and connected network. So, a warm welcome, Chetan.
Thank you. Let me share my screen.
Sure. And Vishnu, will it be possible to have us a quick look on the results of the poll before we move to this session with Chetan? I think the response is yes. So here, Chetan, this gives us a good insight into the
Yeah.
enterprises who are there with us today. That what best describes their network infrastructure for their specific organization. I think majority of them are there with their primarily legacy Wi-Fi, which are 5 and older. But definitely, I think this is a golden opportunity for them to move forward to assess that how they can move forward with these new technologies and new options which are there in the market. And when we are looking into their priorities for the future upgrades, it completely comes out that they definitely are looking for that real-time visibility and monitoring across their operations, along with enhancing security and compliance, which definitely is a key thing nowadays. And but they're still struggling with the IT complexity, specifically through AI driven management. I think that is a key challenge when they are looking for the digital transformation, specifically for network in their organization.
Thank you, Pratik. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to you to this webinar. My name is Chetan Mistry. I am the solutions head for Ruckus Networks in India, based out of Mumbai. Today, I'm going to talk about the latest happenings in the networking, specifically wireless. I'm going to talk about Wi-Fi 7, the 6 gigahertz, the future of 6 gigahertz, which many of us are anticipating. And obviously, AI/ML is gaining momentum today in networks as well. So, and all these things, while I speak about how it relates to manufacturing, Industry 4.0, smart manufacturing, how it's going to help is what I'm going to focus upon. So, let's get started. So,
And I would just urge all the, sorry, Chetan, I would just urge all the participants that in case while Chetan is going through the slides and sharing his perspective and the trends, in case if you have any question, please drop in a note in the comment section and we will pick all the questions at the end of the session. Thanks, Chetan.
Thanks. Okay, so three things basically the agenda as part of agenda. So I'm going to talk about what are the top three priorities from a smart manufacturing perspective. Obviously, as you see from the we saw from the poll response, right? I'm also going to talk about what are certain roadblocks when it comes to manufacturing, especially smart manufacturing, and what are certain business outcomes that basically the CXO level is expecting when moving towards smart manufacturing. So coming on to the top priorities, I will say top three priorities. The first priority is obviously when you build a network, yeah, you need a robust and a scalable network, right? So and that starts with your basic physical layer of the network. That can be your the network switches, and when it comes to Wi-Fi, obviously the Wi-Fi part is getting important, right? So and it is critical as well because Wi-Fi is so dynamic, especially in manufacturing when the environments are so uncertain. Reliable connectivity is of prime importance, right? And for that, obviously, today we see a lot of customers of our customers in the manufacturing industry going for enterprise grade infrastructure, whether it is wired and wireless, purely because they want an infrastructure which can give them seamless coverage across the facility, whether it is their shop floor or the back office or the typical enterprise office, right? And when you talk about the shop floor, there can be difficult or you can say challenging environments like a cold storage, a warehouse with metal racks and all those things. All these are challenging environments, right? And for a Wi-Fi to thrive in this environment is again a big challenge. So you need a Wi-Fi which is robust, reliable, and scalable, right? The other priority is basically which has gained momentum in the recent year is what data I can access. It's not historical data, but it is real-time data. How fast I can access the data which is being captured at the floor or the shop floor level. Right? Now, when you talk about these real-time data, devices have also changed over the past over years. So we see our customers moving from the typical barcode scanners, handheld terminals to having advanced devices like you talk about AGVs, AMRs, and then IoT is not behind as well, right? So IoT devices. And one thing is device, the second part is the applications that these devices are getting access. Earlier, the devices were which would access, they would access purely data, but now we have applications that are being built, which are being accessed by these devices, which require prioritization in terms of latency, low latency, good throughput, as well as real-time communication, right? And especially the post-COVID COVID era. I remember one of our customers who deployed, basically Wi-Fi on their shop floor was purely basically for data connectivity. Come COVID, and they wanted, since the team could not visit the shop floor because of COVID restrictions, they wanted uh, cameras or basically the network to adapt to video cameras or video applications, right? So that they can monitor what is happening remotely on the shop floor. So suddenly the environments have changed, and whether that Wi-Fi or the basic infrastructure can adapt or scale to such kind of applications or environments is another concern and a priority for the stakeholders. While we talk about reliability, scalability of the network, we talk about data, the devices, complexity is increasing, right? So while you have all these things, what the stakeholders are looking at is basically simplification of how well you can manage the network, right? And still prepare for growth. So if I'm thinking something, whether the network can tune as per the dynamic changes which are happening in my environment, right? So automation, it becomes very key, right? I was talking to a customer yesterday, right, in our engineering center, and he said that he's from the manufacturing background, and he says we have a particular space in the office. They said at today there is only 20 people who are sitting and accessing the network. Suddenly, the operations demand that the floor changes, and 20 people, they remove the partitions, and suddenly that space becomes where 200 people are sitting and accessing Wi-Fi. So such kind of dynamic environments is what we are seeing, right? So network visibility, adaptations, and the most critical part is security. So while so many devices and applications are being accessed, how would you take care of the security part, right? So these are certain things which we are, experiencing when we talk to our customers in the manufacturing industry, right? So how these changes in the industries, and what are the new technologies that are coming into the industry, in the networking industry, are going to basically help you, right? So first thing is Wi-Fi 7. So I see the poll questions. You have already deployed Wi-Fi 6 or 6E, but Wi-Fi 7 is going to become very crucial. Not now, but maybe it will start gaining momentum towards the end of next year, and 2027 is the year when we'll see Wi-Fi 7 peaking in terms of adaptability and implementation at the network level. Right, you will have a lot of client devices as well, right? So I'm going to talk about Wi-Fi 7 in a couple of minutes, but the other most important trend is basically the 6 gigahertz. So and let's not confuse Wi-Fi 7 with 6 gigahertz, because Wi-Fi 7 can survive or can be without 6 gigahertz. Both are very independent of each other, right? So we see customers asking for 6E, but 6E is basically just what you can say an extension of 6. They don't have any much. There's the only additional spectrum which I'm going to talk about. But the critical thing is, rather than going from 2.6C, is basically adapting Wi-Fi 7, because Wi-Fi 7 is going to come up with a lot of advantages, especially basic for the manufacturing industry. So as you can see on this slide, right? So a couple of things which I want to talk about is Wi-Fi 7 APs are basically going to help and cater for applications which require lower latency. They are coming up with certain features, draft features, which will support better throughput. Uh, uh, they are going to help us from a QoS perspective as well. But the most important part, what you see, is basically the multi-link operations. Now this is one feature. Until Wi-Fi 6, basically it was only like a client speaking to the AP or the access point on a single link, basically, right? But now here you see something where we are coming at par of the wired network. Like if you are on a wired network, you can have multiple links where you can double or increase the throughput, a kind of an LACP, link aggregation. So the same link aggregation kind of feature, redundant links, you will soon see in Wi-Fi 7. So the MLO feature is going to help in terms of whether you are looking for a latency sensitive applications or applications which demand throughput, redundancy, because the client is going to speak to the AP or the infrastructure on multiple links, and that is going to enhance your throughput as well. So very critical. So apart from your normal the normal speed and feeds, so we are going away with speed and feeds, coming with these new latest Wi-Fi 7. So the focus is now on how well you can transfer or how reliably you can transfer your data from the end device to the network, right? Now, talking about 6 gigahertz and how is it important from the India market, or right? So this is something which is very important. Now, we already know we have EPs which operate on 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. So 2.4 has its own limitations because you have so many devices that support 2.4, which is Wi-Fi and non-Wi-Fi. Your IoT device also support 2.4. BLE supports 2.4. Then we have the 5 gigahertz, but again, although it is a broad spectrum, less interference as compared to 2.4, but it has its own limitations in terms of based on the geography on what channels you can operate on the 5 gigahertz. Right? And that is where 6 gigahertz has advantages, because it comes with a huge 1200 megahertz broad spectrum, no limitations on what channels you can operate, right? So a big spectrum, good throughputs and a cleaner environment is what it is going to provide. So there will be no interference from the legacy devices as well. Right now, what is the future for this 6 gigahertz in India? Just as an update, or many of you would know, right? The government or the regulator in India is considering freeing up the 6 gigahertz spectrum. Now, to what extent is we are not clear, but we see positive signs that the government or the regulator in India is going to basically free up spectrum, if not the entire spectrum, maybe a part of spectrum. But whatever it is going to help the deployments in the Wi-Fi. Yes. So basically, we talk about Wi-Fi 7, 6 gigahertz. These are all there to be. But Ruckus, when it comes to Ruckus, right, it has its own advantages. While the industry comes up with these enhancements in terms of technology on the Wi-Fi front, but Ruckus has its own advantages when it comes to Wi-Fi. And the most prominent one is the BeamFlex technology, where it works on a combination of hardware and software. The hardware is something which is customized, as you can see on your left hand side, with multiple antenna elements which focus in a specific direction, which give you the best coverage. But more than coverage is the reliability of your connectivity, right? If even in an interference prone network, which we largely see in the manufacturing industry, right? We are able to thrive in a much better way as compared to our peers, right? And this is one thing from the hardware perspective. We also have built a software which is like, we are talking about AI ML today, but with BeamFlex, we develop intelligence in our software, in our AP, more than 20 years back, where the software can detect where the clients are and focus their energy or the RF energy only in the direction of clients and not elsewhere. So that kind of intelligence is what you will find with BeamFlex. Again, it is one of the just 100 patents that Ruckus has. So, and how important is from a manufacturing industry, because you have clients which are mostly mobility is very key. So we have enhanced this BeamFlex to support PDMRC. So where you will have these clients, whatever orientation you have, the orientation is detected by these antennas in Ruckus, and accordingly, that kind of orientation is aligned with the client. So you get the best signal, you get the best reliable connectivity through this polarization diversity technique, right? Now, coming on to the second part of the agenda, basically, what are the challenges that you have in terms of in the manufacturing industry, right? The biggest one is basically now, earlier it was only about IT, then we have the OT devices also coming onto the network and becoming IP enabled. So till now, and we still see that apprehension that the IT and OT team, they operate in silos, right? So each of them have their own priorities. They have their own set of tools, applications that they deploy, and they operate in in a more disparate way, basically, right? But what trend we are seeing is basically the IT and OT, once it comes together, because now OT is also converged on the IP. So our APs, they support OT as well. So you not only you can carry the Wi-Fi traffic, but now today all the latest enterprise grade APs support an inbuilt IoT sensor as well. So you can carry your usual Wi-Fi traffic as well as the OT traffic through the same gateway. So how does it benefit to you is basically you don't have to have two separate networks. You save on the cost in terms of infrastructure, right? Now the question comes is, what about the security? So uh, there are so many security techniques at the core level or at the edge level that we can plan, and I'm going to talk about that as well, right? So what are the certain OT manufacturing use cases that we see today, right? So it starts from a simple thing like asset tracking, where you track assets or people, or the most advanced things or what most demanding is basically today we talk about sustainability. We are apprehensive about the CO2 emissions. So energy management, temperature monitoring, humidity monitoring, occupancy in a particular warehouse. So these are certain things which are very, very critical in the manufacturing. And again, security wise as well, right? So the OT, how well you can connect or integrate the OT device with the cameras. So, if a particular incident happens, you can see, okay, you are getting an alarm, and you can see through the cameras as well. The second challenge is basically, as we saw it in the poll as well, you have legacy infrastructure, right? So, not only infrastructure, but also devices as well, right? So, come with Wi-Fi 7. So, it is time to upgrade the Wi-Fi, because the advantages these new technologies come. You need to note that, even if you upgrade Wi-Fi 7, if you have legacy device, with legacy devices connecting to the new APs, you'll still have the advantage for the legacy devices as well, right? And again, your those old infrastructure or obsolete infrastructure may not be able to support today's requirement in terms of reliability, bandwidth, latency, and so on. So this is another challenge which is very important, becoming critical. The third is basically the resistance to change, right? So basically teams which are working on the floor, they are hesitant to adopt automation because they fear that we lose out on the jobs, lack of human resources and everything, right? And again, IT skills or IT teams are becoming lean, and they lack the skills also. So again, automation, AI, ML becomes very, 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 very critical, right? So talking about another challenge is basically security. So as I said, right, now OT systems also getting merged or converged into the IT system. And these OT systems are so critical, they may ultimately affect production or revenue as well. So how are you going to take care of the security part as well? So when you as stakeholders, you are almost, I'm sure you are concerned about all these things. And for that, we have from Ruckus, we have a software from a security called CloudPath, basically which can authenticate any user on the network. Basically, it can be an IoT device as well, or a laptop or a handheld terminal and everything, and any device, right? So the user can be your internal user, or your auditor, or basically any outsider as well in a secure way, and any network. So basically, it can authenticate or onboard users securely, both on wireless as well as wired customers. So basically how it looks like, so it works on the most golden standard of technology, which is called 802.1x and certificate based. So as you can see, we can authenticate any type of devices. It can be your employees, your contractors, or outsiders like partners or auditors kind of things. And you can authenticate even headless devices like your printers, scanners, or OT devices as well. So you onboard them on the first day, and the next day you remain connected. So it is a self-service based authentication system. You don't do any basically configuration on the client side, right? Day one you come onto the network, follow a process, the policies get applied as per the device and the user who is coming onto the network, and the next day is up and running with full security. All your sessions are encrypted. We can apply role-based policies. So a full future-proof and a foolproof solution as well. Now, the other concern which I highlighted earlier was visibility into your network. What is that? So, as I said, you will have so many applications, devices that come into the network. How are you going to track the visibility, right? Where are the goods, pallets, the cooling infrastructure, and all those things. So, and automation. So, can you automate certain things which are happening onto your network? So, can you get data, or you know, it will be very good, right? So, as I said, citing an example that environments in manufacturing are changing so dynamically on a per day basis every day. Can the network adapt to those changes instantly? Can I get the relevant data which will drive results for your business, right? So these are certain. So is there a central management tool which I help with? So we have vendors who are coming up with AI/ML tools, and so is Ruckus with the Ruckus analytics or tool which will do your basic health monitoring, incident monitoring, troubleshooting, reporting as well. But what is another things or good things that it can do apart from these traditional things, right? So second thing, with Ruckus AI, you get something called as a patented technology called intent AI. What is intent AI is basically as per the changing network environment, can the network automatically tune itself to that particular changing environment? For example, if today and there are only 20 people sitting in a particular room or a particular space, right? The network should work for those 20 people. Today, 20 become 200. Can a network tune the Wi-Fi AP in such a way that it can service those 200 people in that way? So can the AI tool learn over a period of time what is happening in your network and adjust that thing? So this is something called as intent AI. Whether I can tune the network to support less lower latency traffic, or can I tune the network in such a way that it supports high throughput application, right? As an administrator or as an IT or a CIO, can the network work for me in that way? And today it is possible, and Ruckus AI is doing it in that way. So we have come up with Intent AI, AI-based radio resource management. Another critical factor in terms of AI is basically today, as stakeholders, we are always concerned about CO2 emissions, energy savings, and everything, right? So internally, we are coming up with features in Ruckus AI where the EP or the AI tool learns when at what part of the day or time is the AP or the switch busy, right? So it learns the trends, and automatically the AP shuts down its power when it is less busy, and when the network requires it, the AP turns on its power to its full performance. So these are the kind of features apart from the traditional incident monitoring and client troubleshooting reporting that AI, and this is what is going to help in a manufacturing industry as well. So certain concerns, right? So how do you know that scanners are working on the factory floor, right? Is there a report? How do you, basically when operations come to you or the IT, there is no history or proof where the problem happened. So this is what AI can solve it to you. So if there is a major outage on the factory floor with, say, there's no signal, or is there any troubleshooting tool? So this is where Ruckus AI comes into the picture. Coming on to the final part of the agenda, basically, what are the outcomes that you are expecting, right? So, reduced downtime, that is quite obvious. And if there is an issue, the IT, as an IT stakeholder, you should, before the end user complains to you or comes to you, you should be able to recognize it and take corrective action on this, right? And that is where Ruckus AI helps. Accuracy, order accuracy and fulfillment, that is where these applications help, and the network should also support it in terms of latency and throughput requirements. Safety and compliance is where Ruckus Cloud Path can help, right? So you ensure that the right users and the right set of device come onto the network, and not only come onto the network, but they are assigned the right policies when they come onto the network, right? And again, whether you can save costs, because because although the demand from IT is more, but we see the the IT team shrinking over a period of time. So these are certain examples, right, of our AI tool. So which tells you connection success, how many successful connections, any failed connections, who are those failed connections. You can set basically SLAs in the AI tool. So this is something new which is happening in the AI ML industry, in the networking. So can you set SLAs where you can set a threshold? Okay, if so many failed connections, I should get an alert, or how much percent of my clients are getting a throughput, designated throughput. So you say, I want each client to have 5 Mbps throughput. So you can is there a tool which can measure how many percent of your clients are getting that throughput, or in terms of latency, right? So these are certain things which are very, very critical, and this is basically a broad architecture on how Ruckus can help, whether it is through Wi-Fi 7 or CloudPath or the AI/ML tool, or as basic as our AP and the switches through our Beamflex and other patented technologies, right? So that is what I had for today. Thanks, Prateek.
Thank you so much, Chetan. These were definitely some insightful perspectives and giving us an overview of the overall networking landscape. And as the session is over, we again have two poll questions right in front of you on your screens, just to understand the kind of readiness and the anticipation that you have towards AI driven network. So if you can quickly share your responses on these two poll questions, that would be really great from our delegates. And after this, we'll definitely move towards the Q&A session. We do have some couple of really interesting questions from our audience. Some have been already answered by our tech specialist, and there would be a couple more that would be taking us right now. So if you could quickly answer these two questions about how you would describe your readiness to adopt AI-driven network management platforms, and by when do you anticipate to refresh your network to incorporate these next-gen technologies? So quick responses on those two questions, and we'll just see that overall, what's the perspective, Chetan, from the audience of ours today?
Sure.
So I think I would request my team members, if we have the responses from the poll, we can just quickly see the result.
Still coming in.
Okay, sure. And I am seeing couple of hand raises. from Sandeep. Sandeep, I would really appreciate if you can share your question through the chat box that we have on the platform. We'll definitely take up your question. So the polls are out. So here's the responses that definitely there is a sufficient count or say share of people who are already using AI driven tools. And I would say these are those early adopters of technology in their enterprises. And we have good share of 1/4 of the people who are definitely in their pilot phase, while the rest are still assessing. And this is a really good result, because at least we can see that a fair share are the early adopters, and others have assessed their overall requirement around these AI driven network management platforms, and they are ready to assess and move forward from the pilot phase to the actual adoption. So this is great, and it is great that the kind of discussions that we had today, discussing about the challenges, opportunities, the changes in the overall landscape, and how, Chetan, you have broken down the practical pathway to build a more smarter, faster, and connected networks. So thank you for your this session. And there are a couple of questions. Let me just
Sure.
these are a couple of So so there is, we are receiving a lot many, primarily all around the majority are around the technical aspects. But there is also one, Chetan, the person asked that, how can Cloud Path provide security for wired IoT devices?
Okay, so talking more on the cloud path is basically a vendor agnostic software. So, and primarily vendor agnostic on the wireless part, where it can integrate with not only Ruckus infrastructure but a non-Ruckus infrastructure. So it is basically an authentication solution which provides multiple ways to authenticate users. So it can start from as good as basically a kind of MAC address based authentication to the highest level of authentication, which is called as the 802.1x ETLS certificate based authentication, which is considered as the golden standard of authentication. Now, coming on to the IoT devices, which can be headless devices, and from a cloud path or a Ruckus perspective, we have again a patented technology called DPSK. So if you have heard of PSK, which is a traditional 8-character password which is shared among all the users and devices, and which is vulnerable to a social engineering attacks, right? So DPSK is a method where CloudPath distributes passwords or PSKs which are unique to every user and device, okay, and then still do .1x authentication if required. But if not .1x, still you will have, say, a device X which has a unique password which cannot be used on a device Y, right? And again, not only that, we can have an expiry to that password as well. So we can say it can expire after, say, 3 months or 6 months and 1 year kind of a time frame, right? So basically an open platform, open software integrates any type of users as old as a Symbian or a BlackBerry to the latest MacBooks, and even your barcode scanner, handle terminals, or the SCADA systems as well. MAC address filtering, it can do OAuth authentication, where it can authenticate users for guests or outsiders based on, you can say, their social media platforms or credentials. You can do MAC address based AD integration to the latest, which is like your integration with Azure AD kind of stuff also.
Okay, great. Now we have a couple of questions, and if I combine them, the question would be, Chetan, that when they are moving or say assessing this migration from Wi-Fi 6 and other variants of it, so what are the key considerations that they should be considering for this upgradation?
Yeah,
And
a
specifically
very
also sorry, just one more part to it, and specifically what about the OPEX and the CAPEX implications also to be included in this upgradation process?
okay. So uh, multiple answers to it, right? So basically, uh, I talked about Wi-Fi 7, which is key. So you may consider in future, not now, adapting to a Wi-Fi 7 or a latest technology. Now, well, it's not just basically you remove your older access points and replace with a newer technology access point. Gone are the days when you would do it, right? Why? Because these Wi-Fi 7 APs demand more power. When they demand more power, you may have to basically change or upgrade your switches. Newer technology APs have come with not 1 gig, but now they come with 2.5 gig ports. So you need to go with switches which support multi-gig, more PoE budget, not only on the active part, but also you need to consider upgrading to a better passive infrastructure. For example, if you are on Cat 5 or Cat 6, you may want to upgrade your passive network to a Cat 6A cable, which will support up till 10 Gbps. So these are the things, right? If tomorrow the other part is or advancement that can happen going down the line is basically the 6 gigahertz adoption. So if the WPC in India opens up the 6 gigahertz, again the rip and replace is not going to work that seamlessly, because our internal study shows that uh, a 6 gigahertz EP, an EP operating on 6 gigahertz will almost down your coverage to almost 50% of your present coverage on 2.4 or 5 gigahertz. So if you are deploying on 6 gigahertz, make sure you are consulting. You can come to us for any consultancy or advice, basically, and we are happy to help you out when you are considering these kind of network upgrades in future for your network.
Okay, great. And in continuation to this, there's another follow-up question that I would like to emphasize upon, Chetan, that when we are considering all these aspects, what about the cybersecurity consideration, and how does it align with the zero trust architecture when we are thinking of Wi-Fi 7?
Yeah, so no matter whether it is Wi-Fi 7 or things, cybersecurity is in general basically a threat which has become, and we are coming up with platforms and solutions. CloudPath is one of them, right? Through our cloud platform, which is the Ruckus One or R1 as we call it. It is a unified platform which will not only manage the wired and the wireless, but also at a core, we are coming up with certain software solutions where we can maybe integrate with third party vendors for say SD-WAN or any ZTNA capable platforms. Even if we are not building, our platforms or our softwares are open, so that we support APIs. We can seamlessly integrate with say a cloud. For example, CloudPath can integrate. It has an inbuilt API which can send, once it authenticates the user, it can send all the accounting to say a firewall, right? We have a close integration with Palo Alto firewall, for example. So you can push all the accounting from CloudPath to a firewall and define policies and everything, right? We can integrate with even MDM solutions seamlessly. So we have solutions in our portfolio which can help you bundle in a package to provide a zero trust network security. Any more questions, Pratik?
I think, Chetan, there's one last one before we close the session, that what is the role of Ruckus products and solutions in providing IoT solutions, specifically in manufacturing industry?
Yeah. So again, as I said, right, the enterprise grade APs today in the industries, they can act. They have an additional radio apart from the Wi-Fi radio. They have an inbuilt IoT radio which is coming, have inbuilt into them. So you can with Ruckus, we not only our APs which act as a gateway for Wi-Fi and IoT traffic, we have even built a management solution which is an IoT controller. So an end-to-end converged network. So we act as a gateway to take the IoT traffic from any sensor, any manufacturer sensors to our AP into the wired network through the switches and onto the Ruckus IoT controller. Again, this IoT controller software is again so open-ended that it can integrate with any sensor manufacturer's management platform. So we basically act as a medium for the sensor to connect to the IoT, that sensor manufacturer's IoT platform. The advantage is that you do not have to lay a parallel network. The same network which you build for Wi-Fi can service the IoT network as well, right? And with our switches, the security built into the switches through CloudPath, we can ensure that the IoT and the IoT traffic is separate and it can be controlled as per the requirements of the network.
Okay, that's great. And I think all of the majority of the questions we have taken up. We are running short of time and we still have a couple of coming. I would insist that we will definitely touch base with you again, providing all the technical responses to all these questions that you're asking over here. Our team is continuously answering all those questions. So thank you, Chetan, for your time. And
Thank you.
any more questions, I would say to the delegates, if you have any further questions, please drop in a note to us and Ruckus team will definitely get back to you with all the answers that you have. And as we have seen that already 25% of people are there, enterprises are there in their pilot phase, and just another 25 are left because many of them have already moved. Do get in touch with Ruckus team, do assess the requirements, the solutions, do have a pilot, and I'm sure things will work out. And Chetan, it was definitely a lovely session. I hope all our delegates got that kind of perspective, the change in networking landscape, and this would really help them move towards a smarter, faster, and connected AI-driven solutions.
Thank you, Pratik. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, everyone. It was great to have you today on this webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you.